Hi. Before we start the coming week's news and events to analyze in details, we would like to share with the events that had taken place last week that we believe it's important to know or inform you. The first one is in Syria, the US-backed forces captures the last Islamic State stronghold in Syria. That's very important to be informed. The main reason is because US has already declared that they are going to withdraw from Syria. Now it's going to expedite this process. And the main reason is that they have around 2,000 US troops over there. Now they are going to reduce this to a number between 200 to 800 top. And the main reason why they are going to still keep, I would say, a watch unit is because they want Turkey not to get a conflict with the Kurdish forces, or they call it like a Kurdish-led forces, but we call them like PKK and YPG. That's the one of the main faction between Turkey and US that they are not getting along at this moment. Since Turkey has been seeing these forces as terrorists, but US sees as allies, they need to protect their interests in the region, so that's why they are going to, we believe that keep a number between 200 to 800 soldiers over there. But since the stronghold already been captured, we believe that the withdrawal will take place in coming months before the summertime. I would say Golan Heights. As you know, the Golan Heights has been captured by Israel during the 6-7 wars, and US President Trump, whom I believe cannot be guessed what he is going to say and he's going to do at any time, given time. He has signed that the US now recognize the Golan Heights as a part of Israel soil. Of course, this has bring a big, I will say, dissatisfaction or discomfort within the Muslim community, other than Saudis and Arab Emirates, due to their strong alliances with Israel. But the main reason why US has signed such act is because of Iran's increasing influences. If we are going to look at from a projection of 1980s up until today, we are now seeing in Lebanon and also in Syria that there is a great increasing effect of Iran. Since now US has been seeing these heights as a part of Israel's sovereignty, now this is going to give them right to confront Iran directly, because an alliance's land or sovereignty is under threat. But it shall not be forgotten that these kind of things also opens another gate to some other countries in the region, especially in Middle East, I would say in Asia. A strong country might go and invade a part of a weak country, and they can say that now we are going to have it because we are strong. Now US might be a strong global power, but they cannot be everywhere at the same time. So this, in my view, opens a Pandora's box, and this is a very, very, very risky move for the global peace. And that's what the US now has caused. I think they have now, I would say, caused a fluctuation in this stability of especially the Middle East. Defense Department of US has sent 2 navies to Asia, to the Taiwan Strait. The main reason is because the Chinese Coast Guards or Navy, let's say, has been patrolling around the Taiwan Strait, and US thinks it's a threat to Taiwanese sovereignty. That's why they send 1 destroyer and 1 Coast Guard in order to counter Chinese influence in the region. Nevertheless, the frequency of any collision risk is very low. Still, there is a risk, and we will monitor these patrolling duties between 2 parties, and if an incident will arise, we will report it accordingly. Oman. US has also signed another deal with the Oman government. Now the Dugum and Salalah ports will be used by US Navy. Already Dugum has been under service for the British Navy as much as also the Indian Navy. The main reason for US is to encounter the Chinese influence in the region, especially also not only to Arabic countries but also to Horn of Africa. But for Oman, they are trying to be always remain as a neutralist. So through the different parties' involvement in their countries, they are trying to also increase and enhance the security parameters for themselves. Morocco teachers stayed overnight sit in demand for full-time benefits, especially, and we think that, and we strongly believe that they are very much affected by the events taking place in Algeria. Since the economy is also fluctuating in Morocco and as much as also in Algeria, we believe that these actions or these demonstrations will be taking more and more by time also in Morocco. So what we are now seeing coming from Algeria to Morocco, and we will see more maybe in the northern part of Africa, more like a spring Arab action movement. Demonstrations will be increasing because it's now also summertime. But we believe that maybe May is going to be the Ramadan, so these kind of demonstrations might be less in effect. But during the summer, when it's going to end, it might be increased. That's our expectation. Excuse me. Now, Malaysia, you know, China and Malaysia have agreed or had agreed for the East Coast Railway project. But then Malaysia said they are going to withdraw from this, but then they think they have to change their mind in order to boost the economy. And last month also we have mentioned that they have agreed now, but for the people or populace not to show resilience to these projects provided by Chinese resources, they decide to have a mutual agreement with China and now reducing the project from 20 billion to $17.5 billion. We have already projected that Chinese intention is going to decrease these projects not only in Malaysia but everywhere else, like Malaysia, Pakistan, Indonesia, and other Horn of African countries and Arabic countries too, in order to decrease the resilience of the people to the Chinese influence in the region. The main reason why it is considered like, because from the aspect of populace, the reaction is, or the thought is very easy. If Chinese is going to bring a lot of money to the country, it means that the government's ability to repay back to China in time is getting less if it's coming very much. So if a country like, let's say, a country having, let's say, 40 billion turnover in a year is now receiving a 20 billion loan for 10 years, it's a very huge money to repay back. So what they are thinking then is, okay, this has to be decreased, and we want to see that our government is not directly influenced or under the influence of China. Therefore, China is now reducing all these investments from the previous budget to a much more lower budget. And for Chinese interest, it is very in line with, because still they keep their projects floating. Means they are going to have they are going to reach their access, they are going to secure the logistics. So that's very important to know. And we are expecting that this will take place also on the other projects in other countries. Now, European Commission have given recommendations to its members to prepare a report about the 5G network. This is done in our belief that to encounter the Huawei equipments, I would say, suspicious that they are used for espionage purposes. So they want to see what kind of risk they are exposed to, and if the Huawei equipments are involved in this or not. And the due time is 30th of June, so I think during the summertime or before the end of the summertime we are going to see the result of this report, and we will see how the European Union is going to encounter the Chinese company. At this moment it's not going to fluctuate the relations between EU and China, but it's kind of skirmish, so we will see. Russia. There was an Ingushian town and the Chechen region. They have a problem with the land swap. This has been caused because in 2018 there was a deal between two regional governments, but then the Ingushian court said that this should be reversed because it's not a constitution or it's not in line with their laws. But then the Russian constitution has decided that it's in line with the law, so it should take place. Now there is a protest or demonstration going on in the Ingushian town. This is very important to be aware of because it shows how the people have resilience to these actions directed by the Russian government, and they don't like it first, and also because of the bad economic indicators, this is going to increase. And this kind of dissatisfaction might cause big movements in later on. So these are only the start of these, or ignites these kind of protests. Now, a stagnation in Europe might start, or already starts. We have seen a couple of signs. The first one is the Italian signs. They are trying to now boost the economy by cutting the taxes, introducing new taxes to the businesses, also much more lower rates, allowing the local authorities to spend more or to make more investments. They want to return the GDP to much more higher rates, but it's not possible, it seems. The second is the consumer confidence rates in the UK has fallen to lows since the 1.5 years. And this indicates a drop of consumers trying to spend money, and this is because of the, I will say, unforeseen future of Brexit. And lastly, that the European officials or the bank also try to encourage the more sell-off of the non-performing loans much more easily. They want to boost the economy by introducing much more reserves, much more lower interest rates to their reserves, so which means that they are trying to put more money to the market, so the investment will be increased, and the economy might recover. Now these are the signs of a kind of a stagnation at first place, and not recession, but we will see how this is going to be taking place in future. Having said that, it's a very important also I will say indicator for not only for European Union but also for developing countries who is making great deals with or businesses trades with the EU, including my country Turkey. We should really take care of it. The same is also coming from the Arab Emirates. In 2017 their GDP has increased 3.1, now it's 1.9, and has been increased in 2018. This is much more, the reasons are because of the houses are not sold, also the white collars, or I would say the expats are not there anymore, not in much in numbers, and this is now causing a kind of confidence problems with the investors over there. The investment is not taking place, and thus now the GDP we see is dropping down. If we cannot take actions or reactions or precautions against this, we think that they will see this more and more. But considering all the trade wars between China and the United States, also the EU stagnation and the other developing countries having great problems with their economy, we believe that also Dubai is going to have a great problems in future. India, in the beginning of the week, or end of the week, let's say, they have made a test, an anti-satellite test. They just launched a missile from land to orbit, or a satellite, which is in the world orbit, and they shut it down successfully. Now this shows how the Indian technology has been increased and developed and chanced. Now we can easily say that they are within the group of China, Russia, United States, and they have the ability to demonstrate that they can develop these kind of technologies fastly. This is a very good sign for Indian also military. They can also increase their or speed up, expand their technological advancements for their military capability. This gives also a threat or a risk to Pakistan and China, especially because they are historically their rivals. So we will see how China or Indian military will show development in the technological area too. We believe these are the events very much important that we think we should inform you, and thank you for watching us. Keep with us.